What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm bringing you guys another one of my rankings, and today it is going to be the 8 best performances of 2023. This one just definitely couldn't be a top 5. There was just way too many great moments that happened this year, and even making 8 was extremely tough. But yeah, I feel like I've narrowed it down to some of the really best performances, and it wasn't, of course, again, a lot of prelim fights because you have to take into account the stakes in these fights, and from what these fighters did, they definitely deserve a mention on this list. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into them. So the first performance of the year that I would like to mention is Ilia Topuria against Josh Emmett. I mean, I think this one finished 50-42 on someone's scorecard, so yeah, I mean, that's all you really have to say about that. But yeah, just complete dominance from Ilia Topuria. This is exactly the type of performance you want to put in when you're trying to get a title shot, and it's exactly what he did. Completely demolished Josh Emmett from start to finish in every exchange, the striking, the grappling, and just put on a pressure that I bet Josh Emmett's never seen before in his life. And Ilia Topuria, he's a scary dude, man. He's a real problem, and he's going to give Alex Volkanovski a lot of problems when they do fight early next year. I'm extremely excited for this fight, and Topuria had to have a mention on this list. I just remember watching this and just being like shocked at how good Ilia Topuria is. So yeah, definitely deserves a mention on this list. Next up on the list, and wow, sorry Josh Emmett, but it's Yair Rodriguez against Josh Emmett for the interim featherweight championship at UFC 284. What a performance by Yair Rodriguez here. I think this was some of the best we've seen Yair at in his entire career, which says a lot because he's been in so many amazing fights. But against Josh Emmett, he just completely dismantled him. I mean, he was picking him apart on the feet, feeding the body, feeding the face, and then when he was on the ground, he secured that triangle choke, which is not something you would have expected from a guy like Yair Rodriguez. And yeah, just turned in an incredible performance in an interim title fight, and you have to give him his credit. It was just amazing. I know it didn't really amount to anything after when he went to go fight Volkanovski, but not a lot of guys find success against Volk anyways, so you can't really discount him too much for that. Based on his performance against Emmett, though, definitely one of the best of the year. And let's move on to the next one. The third fight on the list is going to be my boy Charles Oliveira against Beneil Dariush at UFC 289, where he secured that first round finish. And this one might come to a shock for many people, but I feel like this one definitely still deserves to be on here, especially when you look at the stakes. I mean, Charles Oliveira coming off that loss against Islam Makhachev, he really needed to make a statement to assert himself back in the title picture, and that's exactly what he did. He went out there, finished Beneil Dariush in the first round. Incredible. And a lot of people going into this fight were saying that Beneil was probably going to beat him and stuff like that, and Charles completely proved them wrong and picked up another finish against a top 5 opponent, which actually means that he has a finish over every single top 5 lightweight right now, which is ridiculous. And yeah, definitely deserves to be on this list in my opinion, just because of the stakes and what it meant to get the victory here. Moving on to the next fight on the list, and it was Merab Dvalishvili against Petr Yan. I mean, Merab proved to us that day that he is definitely one of the best bantamweights in the world, 100%. I mean, I think he definitely has the best cardio in the UFC as well right now. Just completely dominated Petr Yan. I mean, he put Petr Yan into hiding. No one's heard about him in like months. So, I mean, he definitely put it on Peter here, and just, oh my goodness, like the pressure is just insane. It's not like Merab's the most like technical or flashy fighter. He's just so like relentless and has cardio for days, and really showed it. I think he landed a crazy amount of takedowns in this fight. I think it was over like 26 or something like that, and I think he broke a record as well. And it was just pressure. It was strike, takedown, strike, takedown for 25 minutes pretty much. Petr Yan didn't really get to do anything in the fight, just got completely dominated, and since has now taken a year off almost before he's going to step back in there. So yeah, I mean, if you're making a guy question his career and making him sit out for a long time, chances are you put on a hell of a performance against him. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how this fight didn't get him a title shot, but we're all aware of the UFC politics and how everything works, so yeah, I mean, we'll definitely see him in the title picture soon, but in terms of this list and in terms of performances, Merab definitely had one of the best of the year. Moving on now to a fight that took place on International Fight Week, and it was Dricus du Plessis against Robert Whittaker, where he picked up the knockout against Bobby Knuckles, and that alone deserves respect. I mean, going into this fight, everybody was writing off DDP. No one thought he had a chance against Robert Whittaker, and I hate to toot my own horn, but I actually did have DDP winning this fight. I think DDP is one of the most slept-on fighters in the entire UFC. I mean, the guy is just a beast for 185. So powerful, so strong. Black belt in judo. The guy, he knows what he's doing, and he's good in all realms of the fight. And he just put it on to Robert Whittaker, man. I don't think Whittaker was expecting the power. I think that's what really threw him off in this one. Once DDP was able to establish the power, establish his range, he was just able to pick apart Whittaker. And to do something to a guy like Robert Whittaker, who has been a top contender at middleweight for years, it's super impressive and it's super special. And it's granted him a title shot now against Sean Strickland. So yeah, DDP, what a performance, and definitely deserves to be on this list. Moving on now to the third last fight on the list, and of course this one had to be here. Israel Adesanya's knockout over Alex Pereira at UFC 287. Yes, Adesanya didn't go on to have the greatest of years, but you can't deny him of this performance here. It was one of the best performances of the year for sure. Going out there against your boogeyman and knocking him out in the second round and just setting everything up perfectly and knowing how you wanted to knock him out, it's perfect. It shows the dedication. It shows how good he is and where his IQ is at in the sport. And yeah, he went on and yes, didn't have a great year, but you can't take it away from him how good he was during this fight and what this means for his legacy as well. You're going to look back on this fight many years from now and you're going to remember when Izzy finally knocked out Alex Pereira. So for those reasons, it definitely deserves to have a spot on this list. Moving on now to the second last fight on this list, and it is of course Islam Makhachev knocking out Alex Volkanovski in the very first round at UFC 294. Now, of course, Volkanovski did take this fight on short notice, but you can't take that away from Makhachev. Islam went in there, he knew what he wanted to do, and he got the job done. And to knock out a great fighter like Volkanovski in the very first round, like in a couple of minutes, it's incredible and deserves all the praise that it should get. And of course, like, you have to have this fight on this list. I mean, it just wouldn't make sense not having it. As for Volkanovski, this was really tough for him, and it was a tough fight always, especially taking Islam on 10 days notice, but it's what happened, and it's not something you could take away from Islam. You got to give him all the credit. What a knockout, what a performance, and definitely one of the best fighters of the year and one of the best moments of the year. So for sure deserves a spot on this list. That leaves me with the last fight of the year, the last best performance of 2023, and I gotta give it to Sean Strickland against Israel Adesanya at UFC 293. Now, I don't think if you asked anybody you know who watches the UFC if they were taking Sean Strickland to beat Israel Adesanya, because I know I wasn't, and I know nobody I watched fights with or talked to was taking him either. So that alone deserves a spot on this list, because it wasn't even a lucky knockout or a lucky submission he pulled off against Izzy. He dominated Israel Adesanya for 25 minutes. That takes something else, and that's something that we haven't seen anybody do at any point. To go in there, especially, I think it was also, this was short notice too. Like, this was, I think this was on 6 weeks notice. He went in there, and say what you want about Izzy, he wasn't trying or he wasn't feeling it. I don't buy any of that stuff. I think Izzy was definitely still at the peak of his powers, and he was just not the better fighter on the night. He couldn't figure out Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland just moved forward, stuck in that boxing stance and the Philly stance, and just completely picked apart Izzy from start to finish. He definitely deserves this spot. He has been incredible and put on the best performance of 2023, without a doubt. I mean, to go in there and dominate Izzy, like I said, for 25 minutes, it's unheard of. So, Sean Strickland, congratulations. you have taken home the best performance of 2023 in my books. So there you have it. That is my list of the 8 best performances of 2023. I mean, there was just so many performances this year. This was such a tough list to make. I know I say that in all my ranking videos, but this one was definitely the toughest because there was a lot of things I left out here that I kind of wish I didn't, but hey, that leaves room for you guys now in the comments to bring them up. Let me know who you thought had the best performance of 2023. I'm very interested to hear what you guys have to say. And yeah, thank you guys once again for watching another one of my videos. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Always helps me out a lot. And yeah, stay tuned for more videos like these, and I'll see you in the next one.